Hello and welcome, I'm Peasant, and today I'm going to be doing an Overexplain run for Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. This chap here. And so we're going to be trying to go into as much detail as I can about all my decision-making processes in this game. It's going to be a 0 difficulty, so no adversary, but we will be playing with events, because I've already got a similar series called the 0 series. So if you want a base game one, go check that out. Anyway, without further ado, let's just give it a little bit of an overview on Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. So the key thing to note with Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares, their powers never cause damage or destroy things, which is why this is not necessarily the obvious spirit to go to as a beginner. It does change the game immensely. But Peter Jan, thanks for your comment. Their comment basically bumped this right up to the top of the queue. I thought, oh, well, why not? So, yeah, and if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them. I will do my best to answer them all. I will do that. Sometimes I'm a little bit slow, but, you know, here we are. So, the rule here basically is if you would destroy something, you generate fear instead. Crucial rules, thing that's easy to miss, and I certainly did when I was first playing with this spirit, is that basically you don't push cities. Cities stay where they are, but towns and explorers do move. And I know it's kind of there, but I certainly didn't notice it initially. There are some finer details to this. So a single power cannot destroy a given invader more than once. So let's say you're doing 4 damage in a region with a town. You couldn't do 2 damage to town and then do another 2 damage to town. That wouldn't work. There are some pretty funky rules things with this and how this interacts with damage from other spirits. So let's say you're playing in a multi-spirit game and a spirit had done a little bit of damage to a town, say, putting it on 1 remaining health. You could finish it off. You could kind of do your own thing, and you'd only need to do 1 damage to it to generate all this fear and push. So Bringer does have kind of some pretty wild wombo combo potential, but we're going to be doing just a true solo here for the sake of simplicity. All right, so there is some nuance to this. Hopefully that's roughly explained it. And the main take home is you don't destroy stuff, right? You have to win, especially pure solo. You have to win on a fear victory. So what people would talk about when they talk about a pure fear victory is basically like Terror 4, i.e., you reveal all the fear cards to win. Because you don't really have any good way of, well, you can sometimes, if you get good defend cards, you might be able to use the Dahan to clear out the invaders, but that's unlikely, and you're very unlikely to be able to do that for all the enemies, unless you get very lucky. Anyhow, so what have we got here? We've got a couple of abilities here, so we can turn any face down fear card face up. The interesting thing is any. Most people turn over the top one, but it doesn't have to be the top one. You might not want to turn over the top one. You might, because it might be better to kind of have some idea what's coming in the future rather than because you can't really respond to something that's immediate. We'll see if I remember to do that in this playthrough. This 3 moons is a crucial one. So the gaining an element they have at least 1 of. And that kind of ties into this spirit's strength and weakness, which is basically, this is a major power spirit. Let's just you can play it focusing on minor powers, but you're making life hard for yourself, because if you look at these tracks, you remove a presence, nothing happens. You remove a presence, nothing happens. Okay, you remove another one, finally you get another card play. You remove another one, you get another card play, and then you get an any. This track is horrible. So unless you're playing at a difficulty that is way easier than your kind of skill level, well, you just want to try it out, obviously, you know, do what you want. But this track is horrible. So this track, however, is better. It's still kind of horrible as well, but it's it is a little bit better. Now that's where this moon thing comes in, because this will help you get the thresholds on your major powers. That is how you will win, typically. If you're playing in a multi-spirit game, of course, you could be, you know, just supplementing what's going on, but this track is still horrible, and I would not recommend it. Okay, you got this other ability here, which is very straightforward, gaining a load of fear. The crucial thing is it's a range 0 in with invaders. It's actually quite easy to forget this. You kind of need to be in with the invaders to do this, but this is obviously something you want to be hitting as much as possible. So yeah, you're going to want to go top track. Yeah, let's not hammer that home too hard. We've got 4 growth options here. We've got two kinds of reclaim. This one is actually very important for this spirit, because if you get a major power you like, you can use this to reclaim that individual and still be placing presence. Because if you remember, you got to remember, especially for the really new players that might be watching this, placing presence is how you one of the main ways you power up your spirit. If you're not placing presence, you're probably not becoming significantly more powerful. So you really want to always be trying to prioritize placing presence as a tongue twister. So you've got this one here. So generally you will do this sometimes, but this is a real. Do not underestimate the power of this ability here. Very straightforward placing and at one range. The thing that's interesting, this one here is actually super critical. You'll find that with Bringer, your energy situation, you're going to be in trouble for energy. If you can get help from another spirit, well, that's great. But so this gaining of 2 extra energy and placing a presence is critical. And this range, of course, is great in multi-spirit games, especially. But you're gonna, these are your, 2 of your favorites now. But then, how do you gain power cards? Well, let's have a look at our start cards here. This is generally how you want to gain your major powers. You can gain them the other way if you like, but So the other, so let's just look at it. So if you're in, so it's a 0 range. If target land has Dahan, gain a major power. So there's another one where you've got to be careful with your ranging, where you're placing your presence. If you forget this power, gain energy equal to the number of Dahan. You may play the power immediately, paying its cost. So, I don't think you're ever likely to want to use this bottom one, because this top one is so critical to your strategy. And the other thing to note is you do not have to forget this. This is such a good way of gaining a major power that you probably, don't assume that because you can forget it, that you want to forget it. Oftentimes, other cards you have will be far less useful. Like this one is often less useful. Anyway, so that's that one there. Dreams of Dahan. So this is a very straightforward gathering, and again, the top bit is the main bit you're going to use, but the bottom bit is still, it's still valid. You can do that if you like. It's an extra bit of fear, but typically you'll kind of want to combo these together to some extent to actually make a space that has your presence and as many Dahan in it as possible to get more energy from this Call of Midnight's Dreams. So those two often you play in tandem. Moving Dahan as well is your only way, really, of removing invaders from the board. Actually, that's a weird choice of terminology, because effects you have that remove stuff still work. Just you can't destroy things. So your Dahan counterattacks, they're one of your main ways of actually destroying invaders. And you can use this to kind of make that happen. All right, Dread Apparitions. This is a very expensive way of defending a small amount. But it's still most of the time I'd recommend, if you're thinking of losing one of your start cards, lose this one. Because you're going to probably be using Night Terrors to gain a little bit of energy each turn. And remember, this is a 0 range with invaders. So you can use Dread Apparitions as a defend card in a pinch. And you almost certainly need to use it. Not a lot to say about that one, really. Predatory Nightmares is... So it has this note here to remind you about this Dream 1,000 Deaths, that you can't destroy things. You'll typically use this at the start of the game, and sometimes the elements are useful. It's tricky to know how much detail to go into here. But this 2 damage is basically a town that you will destroy, get the air quotes out, for 2 fear. This is useful because if you can use it when you know a town is going to be built. So you go, oh yeah, I can see that town's going to be built. You'll put this as one of your cards to play. The invaders will build it, and then in the slow phase, immediately after they build, you can then hit it with Predatory Nightmares, push the town away, and then you don't have to worry about the Ravage. I think that might be enough detail. Again, if you have any questions, just stick them in the old comments, and I'll get to them eventually. So I think that's enough overviewing. So let's actually look at the board position. So we've had the opening explore was in the wetlands, which is... I should have thought about this before. I did think about it before, but it was so long ago that I've forgotten. So this is unfortunate. They're going to build a city here this turn. And there ain't really a lot I can do about that. And that's a key. I think something, especially when you take it to higher difficulties, that if you can learn to let a few lands go, that will help. Because I mean, what could I do to try and do something about this? I suppose I could predatory nightmares turn 1 to push this town away, and then I could maybe on the following turn I could dread apparitions and dreams of the Dahan to get the defense there, and all I'll have done is get a little bit of fear and achieve nothing, right? So I'm just going to let that go. And I'm going to do what I was talking about earlier, which is predatory nightmares turn 1 to push the town that's going to get built this turn. I'm going to push that out. And that's a very typical start with the spirit. People would go dreams of Dahan, predatory nightmares. I sometimes like to go straight in with these two because I'm mad as a balloon. But yeah, that's obviously kind of personal preference. And we've got a really good use of predatory nightmares here because we can push. Also, no, you do get to push Dahan as well. The art of pushing Dahan is probably higher level. Knowing where to put Dahan is tricky, and I'm not sure I'm qualified to tell you about that. So I'm going to go with this one. Now this might not. This doesn't look as appetizing. No cards, no reclaims, but energy is a real tricky business with Bringer, especially solo Bringer, because you've got no one else helping you. So we're going to be placing from the top track. We've already gone through why we prefer the top track. Top track is the best track. Now we need to be thinking about being in with invaders for the purposes of night terrors. So we're not already in with invaders. We also want to be thinking about, so potential defending with dread apparitions in the future, and also about potential Call of Midnight's Dreams. There are many things to think about. Now this, I think, is the B map, and it doesn't have the best start for Bringer, because I think the biggest number of Dahan that I can bring together is 3. From the point of view of this extra energy that we're going to hopefully get. So I think what I'm going to do is place a presence in... Oh, I need to be in with invaders, don't I? And it's tricky, because if I place this presence in here with these invaders, there's probably not going to be much I can do about it, so I'm going to lose my presence. Now, you don't want to be too careless with your presence. Especially as Bringer, you don't put down a lot of presence. So, in that case... And we really want to be generating as much fear as we can. This is actually a more awkward start than I'd hoped for. Actually, what we could do, we could go in here. This is fine. Because Predatory Nightmares is going to push these 2 Dahan from here. So we could push, well, this is going to push this Dahan into here. And this is in with a city. So yeah, I think we'll go with that. The nice thing is, as well, is that we've now also got adjacency to our presence in here. So we can now target these 2 lands, which is useful. So I'm going to go with Predatory Nightmares, again, to deal with this land here. And then to set up the Call of Midnight's Dreams, I'm going to do Dreams of the Dahan to bring these Dahan into here. So we'll have 3 Dahan in there, which is pretty nice. You'll notice we've got some Night Terrors, and we've got the Spirits May Yet Dream. So the crucial thing is our presence is in with the invaders there. So this land we're letting go. This land we're kind of dealing with Predatory Nightmares. Okay, so the fast phase is... So we'll do some Night Terroring, and we will turn over a Fear card. Let's turn over the top one. Now remember, you don't have to turn over the top one. Defend 2 in all lands with discs. Ooh, that's intriguing. That means it might be possible to defend in here next turn. Using our dread apparitions. But we'll think about that next turn. Let's carry on with this. So I'm going to gather these 2 in here. And that's the fast phase done. So now the invaders will build in the wetlands. And they'll explore. Okay. Right, so they explored in the jungle. I'm not sure that's really going to impact on my plan that much, factor in the jungle. So they have gone in a land that already has the starting blight, which means I probably need to prioritize this land a little bit more. But I wanna do this. I've just realised. So by using this here, I'm going to generate 4 fear, and I'm going to get that fear card for next turn. But at least I'll know that I've got this extra 2 defend for next turn. So yeah, we'll do this. We'll do 2 damage, and also I need to think about where I'm going to push them to. So I could push them in here. The trouble with that is that I'm making a kind of big, horribly hard to defend land, you know, so this incoming ravage will become impossible, but that might be good because I don't know what my powers are because I've not gained anything yet, so I don't know whether that's good or bad. If I push into this tower, into this forest, I'm actually going to make a city build, which I don't really want either. I could push it in here with my sacred site, or in here. I think those are my best options. Especially now that I know about the fear card, I actually could defend in here. If there's defend 2 in there, then I just need to find defend an additional defend 3 to actually prevent the blight going down, which is good. And defend 3 we should be able to generate fairly easily with dread apparitions and some night terrors. So I think we'll try and defend that if we can. So if I've got the choice of putting in with a land that already has invaders in, I'll tend to put it in with the other invaders. But it all depends on what cards you have. So we're going to push them in here. And we do get to push the Dahan. Now we want all the Dahan clustered together for the sake of our Call of Midnight streams. So we are back. We are back in the growth phase. We've got a Ravage here. We decided to let this go originally, but we might be able to defend in here. Let's just quickly check our maths. So to defend in here, if I place a presence in here, I will gain 2 defend. If I use Dread Apparitions, I need to find 3 defend. So it's going to generate a Ethereal anyway, and then I need to generate 2 fear. So if I play both of these, that's 2 moons, a beast, and an air. 2 moons, a beast, and air. So that's 2. So we can actually we can defend in there. We may as well do that. I think that's reasonable. Yeah, let's do that, especially as we've got this card sitting here. But this is expensive, and my experience of playing Bringer Dreams and Nightmares is that your energy game is tricky. It's nice to gain a power card at this point as well. But I think the nice thing about gaining a power card is that we are going to have to forget a card when we gain a major power. Now we are going to forget Call of Midnight Streams at some point, but we might not necessarily want to do it immediately, unless there's a really good, great benefit to playing it immediately. There are some major powers that you will want to just kind of throw out there, but so yeah, tricky choice here. And I'm sure that it's almost a matter of style at this point, which one you go for. Though the energy one, I think it probably is the most important. And we'll talk about majors when we've got some to look at. So I think I'm going to go with this one. Yeah, especially as we're using Dread Apparitions. All right, we'll go in here. So the Fear card that's not procced yet is going to give us 2 defend. We're going to use Dread Apparitions, and we're going to use Call. So we're using everything. So we need to... I think you need to use Dread Apparitions first. Obviously, if you're playing your physical copy, you will interpret it in the way that makes sense. But in the app, you've got to be a bit more precise. And we can turn over a card. See, and this is one of those cases where this one, there might not be much point in turning this one over because we can't really influence what's going to happen with that one. So I think I'm going to turn over this one. Be bold. Each player may choose land with Dahan or adjacent to at least 3 Dahan. Invaders do not ravage there this turn. Interesting. Adjacent to at least 3. So this little cluster of Dahan is actually pretty nice and could help us in here. Alright, so now we're going to get to the first big exciting decision of the game, which is... Let's see what major powers are offered. So we're going to gain a major power. Let's move that out of the way of the board. Okay. Crikey. Crikey, Mikey. Well, 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 well. Okay, so let's take it from the top. What are our considerations as bringer? Cost. Cost is absolutely critical with our mages. So something like Fire and the Flood, like, wow, that's loads of damage. Remember, you're not destroying anything with this damage, but you will be generating vast amounts of fear. Those of you that are a bit more seasoned, that are inexplicably watching a beginner video, will go, Sea Monsters is amazing. And you're right, it kind of is amazing. But it's also more expensive than you'd want. However, compared to these two, this is almost certainly going to be the one you want to pick. Do we actually have any handy beasts? So the way that Sea Monsters works is it adds a beast and then it kind of does damage per beast. And this repeat is balmy as well. And it's got a max fear here. That's in addition to the fear that you generate for being bringer and pretend destroying things. So there is a beast in here, and we can use it in coastal lands or in this wetland. Now that wetland is that's a pretty convenient place to be hitting. I mean, it just happens. I mean, that this is our build. I think this is almost certainly what we pick. Power Storm is super powerful, but it doesn't really do a lot on its own, of course. And none of our start cards are super great for repeating with this. Actually, no, maybe Call of Minute Streams actually would be pretty good to repeat. But I think that this is, compared to Sea Monsters could basically win us the game on its own. We can use it to target both of our most built-up lands. And gaining a lot of fear. And remember, we're Bringer. We have to basically win by running out this fear deck. And Sea Monsters, I think, is the way. It's the way. And it's almost tempting to use it this turn. So we could forget this to use it this turn. There's me going on about not immediately forgetting it, but would we be able to kind of... The thing is, we don't have many beasts on the board already. But it's just a 3 damage per. So, sorry, hearing the brain, my brain processes here. So adding the beast is going to be worth 2 fear on its own. The 3 damage is going to be worth another 5 fear, because of our special rule for destroying cities. I think we take it. Now, do we want to come out swinging straight away? That's the other question. I think we do. Now, this isn't. I don't often do this. I think typically I actually don't do this straight away, but I think I will. Because of the way this works, it adds a beast each time, so it kind of builds up in power. So I think I will do it. And now what I'm thinking about is fear farming, which is a particularly bringer-focused idea, which is that if you can have a land that has multiple cities in, then you can kind of repeatedly hit it. But I don't think that's a worthwhile thing to be thinking about right now. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe we could wait a turn. What's the benefit of waiting? Is there a benefit of waiting? No, I think we just go with it. We're going to go with it. So we do get to play this turn. And see what our event does for us. For the rest of this turn, explorers have +1 health. Each beast generates a fear if invaders are present and moves to adjacent land if not. Well, that's fortuitous. Okay, on each board, add Dahan to inland land with Dahan. Okay, well, that's just ridiculous. We've just got very lucky there. So this is going to be defended. We can actually just move this this beast. So we're going to move the beast into here. Your RNG may vary. And we get extra Dahan. So we know that we've got this fear card upcoming where we can prevent a ravage if we want to. If it's adjacent to 3 Dahan. So for that reason alone, I'm going to make there be 3 Dahan in here. So that's the one we knew about. And then we have the Wetland Ravage. So, of course, this lone explorer doesn't do enough damage. With events in the game, sometimes explorers do more damage. That's just the joy of events. Let's see what our last explorer is. Okay, mountains. And we're now into the slow phase. So this is, I mean, yeah, this is kind of silly. So we're going to get to hit this land. Okay, we've got 6 damage, so we're not going to be able to pretend destroy the explorer, but we don't really care about that anyway. It's the buildings, that's where the good stuff is. So that's 3. We've got to do the damage somewhere, so we've just gained 5 plus 4 plus 2 damage. Sorry, 11 fear, I think. Look at all these fear cards racking up. Redonkulous. So, bearing in mind that we are strong on the coast now, thanks to this card, we are going to push to the coast. And I would say generally, a lot of the time you do want to push to the coast anyway. With most spirits in most circumstances. Because if you can clear the interior, then you will have fewer explorers in there. Okay, so we're back to the reclaim. And okay. Got too excited there. Look at this. This is horrible. We've got a upcoming ravage in here that will cascade, and we've got a ravage here that will drop a blight. However, this is a nice situation. This is a really handy thing to have, actually. Bearing in mind, actually, we can just prevent the ravage because we've got this. So ignoring that, let's just pretend we don't have that ability. In this situation here, a town plus an explorer will do 3 damage. They will put a blight and destroy a Dahan, but the 2 remaining Dahan will clear this land, which is kind of good. That means we can kind of leave that land alone, and we'll use our fear card in here. So that's pretty nice. We know that this is possible. If we can generate 8 fear, 6 fear, we could actually get terror level 3 fear cards, which are a whole step more powerful. Get a bit overexcited here. Alright, and we've also got a build here. Now we notice we do have a disease token, so if you've not played with Branch of Claw, these prevent a build and then go away. And you will always start with one of these in this kind of central coastal land on each tile. Okay, so we now have this situation, no power cards in hand. And a lot of the time, people assume that reclaiming all is the best thing. It might well be the best thing, but it's always worth checking to see if you can keep placing presence. Because remember, that's how you build up your power as a spirit. And typically a game of Spirit Island, especially if you're playing at a kind of appropriate difficulty level, there'll be this bit where the invaders are just kicking your ass around the place, and then you power up your ass. And then and if you don't place the presence, if you don't improve the strength of your spirit, you will just lose. So it's always worth checking. Let's just see. We've got the ravage here. We can prevent this ravage from the fear card. We can let this one go. There's a build here for a town, and there's a build here that's going to be prevented, and there's going to be an explore. It's the first in stage 2. So we don't really know what it is or isn't. It could be anything. It could be any of these lands, or it could be coastal lands. So we could kind of let this turn go. And it's kind of fine because of this, basically because of this fear card. That's what means that this urgent ravage isn't going to happen. So that does make me think that if we can place a presence and do something cool, then it's going to be worthwhile. I mean, we do also have the situation where we've got this supremely good card just sat in our discard pile that we could just reuse in here to gain a horrendous amount of fear. But it is in the slow phase, so we're not gonna... It's not gonna mean that we can bump the power of these cards up. So you see here, I mean, if you just look at this card, for example, it's just all the cards become more powerful. But we could just hammer, and this is often with this particular spirit, actually it's often the case, once you get a good major power, you hammer it. But something we also need to bear in mind is that our energy level are kind of low. I kind of typically think that 4 energy is the ideal cost of a major, 4 or lower for Bringer, and 5 is a little bit steep, so we might want to do this anyway just to gain a bit of energy. But that's a bit grim, because then we've got a turn where we do absolutely nothing. You know, I mean, this might be good. We could gain a second major power, but our energy budget is going to be really tight. Or we could reclaim, gain a place of presence, and we could hit this land again with the sea monsters. So we'd be placing a third beast. So we'd gain 6 fear, and then we'd gain another 5 fear, 11 fear, which is getting us very close to having just straight up 1. I think we do that. As Bringer, especially solo Bringer, it is a race a lot of the time, because a lot of the time you can't really do anything about the invaders. I think I'm going to go with that. I think you probably could make a case for this as well. Probably not this. This is too passive. I think this is such a big... Just playing this is going to give me so much progress that I think it's worth doing. All right, let's... It's a 0 range placement, so I'm going to place it in to make one of these into a sacred site. This land is about to kind of tidy itself up. So I'm going to place it in here instead. What I mean by tidy itself up is that business of they'll attack, one of these will die, a blight will go down, and then they'll fight back and kill them. So we're going to play sea monsters. And that's that. Pretty low-key turn. So we've got some night terrors going on. And what do we got here? So we are in Terror 2. Invaders do +3 damage per land and as with 3 or more invaders. Yikes. And this is the kind of thing you deal with events, is that sometimes if your defense values are super tight, this could happen. So how do you work around that? I guess sometimes you over defend a little bit. And sometimes you just accept the pain. Okay, so we've got some blight, some disease damage as well here. And a little bit of bonus fear, potentially. Okay, so if we use... So we've got that fierce Mien. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. 1 fear per land where Dahan outnumber invaders. The trouble is that they're going to do 2 damage in there anyway. Okay, we can't get out of that. Ooh, that's brutal. Okay, we're getting brutalized by the events here at difficulty 0. This event is going to kill one of these Dahan, and then I'm not going to be able to prevent this ravage. Okay, event. Okay, have it your way. So we'll we'll destroy a town. So it has got us another fear card. That's unfortunate. God. Defend 2 in all lands. Okay, right, okay. So, you know, that's the joy of having a million fear cards, right? So this is the thing we were completely relying on, and now we shouldn't need. So here, in fact, this defense that's come up now means we don't really want to prevent that ravage, because it is purely beneficial to us. And the event has passed now, so we're not going to get any surprises. Well, who knows? So we'll skip that. Okay, more fear cards. Each player may gather an explorer into a land with buildings, or gather a town into a land with cities. Okay, well. As we are about to smash this, we can bring a town in. This town's going to just get destroyed anyway. I'm happy to let that happen. So I'm going to gather this town into here. Each player removes an explorer and a town from a land with beasts, or 1 from a land adjacent to beasts. So this is a negative for us. This is slightly, especially with the slightly trickier spirits. Often you'll get fear cards that actually don't help you. So I'm going to remove the explorer if I can, because I actually want these to exist, because I'm about to smash them. I only have beasts in one part of the board, so hopefully I can remove an explorer from somewhere. Let's remove an explorer from here. Now, this is a key concept that we've not even covered in this one, but preventing the build is wonderful because it saves you so much hassle. So if I remove this explorer here, then there's no build. If there's no buildings there, there's no ravage either. Okay, so we've got the jungle ravage, which is fine. We're now at Terror 3. And mountain builds. So you notice there that the disease token went away. So that build didn't happen because but the Z-Soaker is now gone. And now we're into Explore, Mountain Explore. Okay. So, I think this game might well be very near... I think this game's over. But really want to talk briefly about these mountain cards. So when they're doubled up, a little rule of thumb is you want to pay attention to those lands. But if you can set up a defense with Dahan, then that is often really nice in this situation, because the Dahan will kind of clear out the land and hopefully sometimes prevent the build. But I think this might be it. It might just be over now. So yeah, that was we did get a bit of RNG on that one. If you have any questions about playing as Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares, aka Bodan, just let me know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for joining me. Like the video if you like the video, and subscribe, I guess. That would be handy. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, keep it spiritual.